A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu editorial analysis for proficiency in English. As usual, let us start with the snippets. But today I have brought the vocabulary, the regular pattern for each word, the word profile. That means part of speech, meaning, example, word forms, word combinations, word usage, synonyms, and antonyms. That is going to be very useful from the exam point of view. Next, as usual, analysis. After that, mini mocks. Today, along with mini mocks, I have brought 5 idioms, important idioms. So try to watch till the end. Let us start with the snippets. Curbing drugs. You all know the word curbing. Curb means what? Restrict. Restricting use of drugs. That's how you have to look at it. Curbing drugs. Jammu and Kashmir issues directives to courier services. Issues directives. Here, directives means directions also you can. What to do, what not to do. We use the word directives to courier services. Perhaps they are trying to distribute through the courier services based on that certain directives to the courier services. And when you see the word drugs, you should think of related words. Drugs, drug addiction, rehabilitation center, de-addiction ward, drug peddler, drug trafficking, confiscate, all these, seize, all these words you should think of. Curtail, control, very good. Coming to the next one, Independence anniversary. Myanmar Junta releases over 6,100 prisoners. When do we use the word junta? When it comes to military rule. Imagine some military, the soldiers and all, after toppling a government, they take control. Then we use the word junta. And independence anniversary, based on that, over 6,100 prisoners released. When a group of soldiers topple the government, military rule, exactly. You should think of coup. What is the spelling of that word? COUP. But P is silent, coup. Corruption campaign. Union Minister slams MGNREGA and Congress. Here, corruption campaign. When you see the word corruption, corruption is widespread, imagine, in a particular country. What is the word you should think of? Rampant. Corruption is rampant. Rampant means widespread. Oh, very good. The way you guys are responding, I appreciate. Campaign, you should also think of canvas. Canvas, there are 2 words. Good. Before I could say you're coming up with those words. CANVAS, canvas, rough cloth on which a painter paints. But CANVASS, double S, canvassing, campaigning, related to campaign. Union Minister slams. We have got many a time 2 meanings. One meaning, if you close the door with a lot of force, we say don't slam the door. But here that is not the meaning. Here slam means to criticize harshly. Harsh criticism, we use word slam, attack someone and criticizing. Coming to the next one, China paradox. We have got this word many a time. What is the meaning of paradox? Yes, before a party we should use the Congress, the BJP. Paradox, positive aspects, negative aspects exist the same time. Then we say a paradoxical situation. We also say ironical. What Beijing's shifting stance means for world. Beijing, it seems, shifting its stance or stand. What does it mean to the world? Based on that, India must be alert and strategically patient. Alert, vigilant, and strategically patient. Strategic here means depends related. What is your strategy to crack the exam? That meaning is different. There it means what is your plan. But here it means depends related. 2 different meanings. Got to be careful. Coming to the last one, you can make out cricket, Sydney Test, and these Test Ashes. What is the meaning of Ashes? Test series between England and Australia. A Ruth Brooke rescue England on day one. Means they must have played well. Coming to the main headline, Maduro in New York jail, VP to take over in Caracas. Caracas is the capital of Venezuela. Venezuela, a Latin American country. For South America, we also say Latin America. Actually, if you take South American countries, many of them are not good at English. The official languages are Portuguese and Spanish because many countries of Latin America, former colonies of Spain and Portuguese, and the predominant languages Spanish and Portuguese. Here, Maduro in New York jail, the president arrested and taken to New York jail. Based on that, VP to take over in Caracas. You have to read that to get complete information. Rectify glitches or halt the SIR, says Bengal CM. Rectify the glitches. Oh, yes. Rectify glitches. Glitch means what? A temporary technical issue, a problem, temporary problem, technical problem. We use the word glitch. Rectify glitches or halt. Halt means what? To stop. Halt means stop. Stop the SIR. Who says that? Bengal CM. When you see the reporting verb says, reporting verb is in present tense, then it's a statement. You have to recollect the rule. What is that rule? If the statement reporting verb is in present, present perfect or future tense, the tenses don't change to a corresponding past tense. Ensure success of strike on labor codes, say CITU. Ensure, make sure success of strike on labor codes. Go on strike. Remember, how do you make the sentence? They went on strike. Go on strike. On is the important preposition. Requesting to support. Here you have one more snippet. KTR triggers row with his remarks on Rahul Gandhi. A row means what? Three different meanings I've given many a time. One meaning of row, dispute. In this context, that is a meaning. Second, front row, back row. Third, to move a boat using oars. Now let us go to the pick. Wounded tiger. Wound, wounded. Can be a verb, can be a noun. As a verb, it's a regular verb. Wounded tiger. And you can see these are all tea estates. Wounded tiger, taking cover means taking shelter, taking refuge. An injured tiger resting on a tea estate near the Thorihalla Reserve Forest at Porthi near Udagamandalam in Tamil Nadu on Sunday. Ooty, Udagamandalam, Ooty. Ooty is known for tea estates. Ooty, Nilgiri Hills, and also Kodaikanal, known for big cat, yes, tea estates. Here, tiger is trying to save itself. Bangladesh will not travel to India for T20 World Cup over security concerns. You all know today Bangladesh, there are two problems. One is political turmoil, the other one civil unrest. Based on that, they must have given a statement. They are not keeping security concerns in mind. They are not willing to come to India to play T20 World Cup. What is the last? I think we have a few here. Center to allow multiple airports in major cities, Civil Aviation Minister. A statement given by Civil Aviation Minister. Usually a big city has only one airport, but now it seems the center is going to allow a major city, not all cities, a major city to have multiple airports. That is good in a way. Nothing to learn as such. India's Russian oil imports at 6-month high in November. Russian oil imports high it seems. Trump wanted us to stop purchasing Russian oil, but imports all-time high in the month of November. Workers from Bengal were assaulted in Maharashtra. Assault means what? To attack physically. When you are attacked physically, what is a better word? Assault. Assassination, kill a political leader or a celebrity or someone very important. That's all from the front page of today's Hindu paper. Let us go to today's editorial. As I said today, old pattern. Each word, important words, word profiles. You exam point of view, part of speech meaning no use at all. Whenever you try to learn a particular word, you have to learn all the dimensions, say 8 to 9 dimensions, then it is nothing but word profile. Let us start with the first one. High and dry. This is an idiom. Have you guys heard of this any time? Leave someone high and dry. Part of speech idiom meaning left without help, support, or resources, abandoned in difficulty. Someone is facing hardships. That time, friends, family don't help. Then what do you say? He has been left high and dry by his family, by his friends. Example, the sudden policy change left gig workers high and dry without social security coverage. Today's editorial is all about gig economy, gig workers, and their concerns, their issues, their problems. Word forms, fixed idiom. For idioms, no forms as such, only one form. Word combinations, left high and dry, stranded. Stranded means to get stuck. High and dry, abandon someone high and dry. Do remember combinations are very important from mains point of view. I have been telling students and last year, SBI clerk mains, IBPS clerk mains, everyone came to know the importance of phrases, standard expressions in English. Word usage, often used metaphorically in editorials to show institutional neglect or policy failure. A particular policy neglects a particular group, then we say they have been left high and dry because of the policy. Synonyms, abandoned, stranded, deserted, unsupported. Antonyms, supported, assisted, safeguarded, backed. After the session, you try to download the PDF. We provide the PDF. You don't have to write all these. You can just watch, and when you download the PDF, try to make a note of important ones. What is the second one? Gig. Today's editorial is all about gig economy, gig workers, their problems. What does it mean? Part of speech noun, it can be an adjective also. A short term, task based job, especially in the platform of freelance economy. You all know gig economy, gig workers are hapless, helpless. Very good. Who is this? Krant. Shrikant. Okay. Coming to gig economy, they have given already, they may give in future also. You should have contextual awareness. Example, many young workers rely on gig work for flexible income. Someone wants flexible income, then he or she depends on gig work. Word forms, gig noun, it can be an adjective, gig based. Gigging rarely we use. Word combinations, gig economy, gig worker, gig platform, gig based employment. All these combinations are important. Yes, Swiggy, Zomato, all these. Word usage used in passages on labor reforms, digital platforms or digital economy, employment patterns. Synonyms, freelance job, contract work, temporary assignment. Antonyms, permanent job, salaried employment. Commendable, we have got many a time. Commendable means what? Highly appreciable, praiseworthy. Part of speech, adjective, meaning deserving praise or approval. Example, the government's intention is commendable, but execution remains weak. And what are the typical combinations I usually give? Commendable job, commendable work. These combinations you have to know. Commendable job, commendable work. Word forms commend, commendation, commendably, adverbial. Commendation, generally we use adjective form. Commendable work, commendable job means what? Adjective. Word combinations, commendable effort, commendable initiative, commendable intent. Word usage, exam point of view, often contrast intent versus outcome in critical editorials. Any editorial that criticizes the government policy, we call it critical editorial. There you come across appreciating, commendable. Synonyms, praiseworthy, an important word, laudable, another important word, admirable, a simple word you all know, I suppose. Antonyms, blameworthy, remember praiseworthy, blameworthy, deplorable, an important word, condemnable, everyone knows, but deplorable, an important word. When you try to learn synonyms, antonyms, do remember some synonyms are familiar, some are not familiar, some are entirely new words. After the session, you have to focus on the new synonyms and new antonyms. That habit will help in the long run. Induct. I have told many a time, induction is a noun form. Part of speech verb, meaning to formally introduce or admit someone into a system or group. We take someone into the organization, that process is called induction. Example, gig workers will be inducted into the social security framework, will be taken into social security framework. Word forms induct, induction, inductee. Person is called inductee, new recruitee, inductee, an important word form. Word combinations, induct into service, into a framework, into an organization. Formal induction. At the workplace, formally you are taken into the organization. Word usage, exam point of view, used in context of policy inclusion, especially recruitment, employment, institutional entry. These are the combinations and contexts. Synonyms, enroll, admit, initiate. Antonyms, exclude, expel, bar. Bar has many meanings, you got to be careful. Aggregator. Yeah, generally people use the word platform, but here a better word, something that goes with effective English, aggregator. Part of speech noun meaning a platform that connects service providers with customers. The platform that connects service providers with customers. Common word is platform, better word is aggregator. Example, each aggregator must upload worker details quarterly. Word forms aggregate, aggregation, aggregator. But aggregate also has a different meaning. When it comes to marks, subject wise you have marks and aggregate marks, all the marks together. What do you say? Aggregate marks. Word combinations, digital aggregator, service aggregator, platform aggregator. Word usage, exam point of view, common in tech, labor law, and platform economy passages. Passages related to these areas, they use the word aggregator. Synonyms, platform, intermediary, facilitator. When you see the word facilitator, you have to think of two words which come under confusing words. Facilitate, felicitate. Success, felicitation. And facilitate means to provide. Antonyms, direct employer, individual provider. Slump. This goes with market, business, lack of demand, a negative word. Part of speech, it can be a noun, can be a verb. A sudden fall or decline. But context is important, do remember. Example, a demand slump affected workers' earnings. A demand slump means no demand. No demand in the market, we say demand slump. And workers, here we have a plural noun ending in the letter S. then you should recollect the rule. We should use the apostrophe after the letter S, not before. That is something very important. Word forms slump, it can be a verb, can be a noun, slumping. Rarely used slumping. Word combinations economic slump, demand slump, revenue slump. We also say market slump, business slump. Word usage, exam point of view, common in economy, market, employment context. Synonyms decline, downturn. These two words are very important. Antonyms boom, surge, rise. Yes. Mitigate has a different meaning. Lapse. We have got this a few times. Part of speech, noun or verb, meaning a temporary failure or the termination of validity. Temporary failure of something or termination of validity, second dimension. Example, benefit should not lapse due to short-term inactivity. Short-term inactivity does not curtail or remove the benefits. Benefits should not lapse. Word forms lapse, it's a regular verb. Lapsed can be used as an adjective. Word combinations, policy lapse. Time lapse is a popular combination. Lapse in judgment. Word usage, exam point of view, appears in legal, insurance, and policy based passages. Synonyms expire, fail, slip. If I forget something, out of 10 things I tell 9, 1 I forget, then I will say it was a lapse on my part. Forget something, slip. Antonyms continue, persist, remain. That's all about editorial vocabulary. Do remember when you learn words, exam point of view, usually what we do, we try to focus on the meaning and the part of speech. But that is of no use exam point of view, competitive exams point of view. You have to go to a higher level. For every important word or effective word, you should create the word profile. What is word profile? Every word you have to write the part of speech, the meaning, the example. Level 1. Level 2. Word forms, word combinations, word usage, synonyms, and antonyms. Then you are ready for the exam. Now let us see how it starts. High and dry. Then you should understand someone has been left high and dry. In this context, pertinent question, who has been left high and dry? On gig workers and their social security. It's about leaving gig workers high and dry. But what is the main idea? Social security for gig workers. Social security is a subject. For whom? For gig workers is a phrase. And where is the verb? Needs to be made. Here it is in passive voice. Here the writer could have used must also. Must be made. We must make something, something must be made. It is in passive voice. Immediately you have to tell yourself. That's how you consolidate your grammar knowledge. Needs to be made accessible and secure in practice. Needs to be made what? Accessible and secure in practice. Practice immediately have to become alert. Here practice is which part of speech? TICE means noun. If the same word practice, TISE, then it is a verb. As a smart learner, you have to recollect. Any editorial, there should be some reason to write. There should be a stimulus. And what is a stimulus? It starts with the stimulus, the reason, what triggered the newspaper to write this editorial. The day after the strike by a lakh or so gig workers across India on December 31st, the CEO of one platform commended police intervention to help the platform meet demand. You all know December 31st, an important day for business people. On the eve of New Year, they get a lot of orders Sometimes they can't manage also. That time, imagine employees like employees of Swiggy, Zomato, other platforms or aggregators, they go on strike, the whole thing will collapse, obviously. They can't meet the demand, they can't supply, it results in a chaotic situation. That too on the eve of New Year, December 31st, next day, New Year. And police intervention could thwart that. Thwart means prevent that. Based on that, the CEO of one particular platform commended, appreciated. The day after the strike by a lakh or so gig workers across India, important phrase, on December 31st, a phrase, the CEO of one platform commended police intervention to help the platform meet the demand. On 31st, so much demand because of police intervention, they could meet that demand. So he praised. This backdrop was unmissable shortly after the Labour Ministry had published draft rules to operationalize the refreshed labour codes for public consultation. Against this backdrop, you could say, writer could have used against this background, against this backdrop, the something has happened. First, we use past perfect, first action, second action, past tense, had published. Here it talks about this backdrop was unmissable shortly after the Labour Ministry had published draft rules to operationalize the refreshed labour codes for public consultation. They have published for consultation. According to the rules, this is something very important. Casual reader, for a casual reader, there is nothing. But a smart learner, according to the scientist, according to the government, according to the company, using the same pattern, a lot of people say, according to me, that is wrong. Is it right or wrong? According to me. According to me. Wrong. For that, you have to say, in my opinion. What are you supposed to say? Ah, good, I appreciate your response, aspirant. According to him, you can say. According to someone, you can say. You should never say according to me. For that, you should say in my opinion. Do remember an important one? According to the rules, these workers will be inducted, future tense, passive voice. We will induct these employees, active voice, future tense. These employees will be inducted, that is future tense, passive voice. These workers will be inducted into the new framework only on social security, not on wages or working conditions, rendering the strike more urgent. Render means rendering, making the strike more urgent. When it comes to gig workers, there are three dimensions based on this. One is social security, the other one is wages, third one is conditions, working conditions. The new rules have touched social security, but they haven't touched wages, they haven't touched working conditions. Based on that, the strike, it has become imminent and it is like urgent. Situation demands they have to go on strike. While the code on wages will apply across sectors and job categories, it excludes. When it comes to wages, the sentence talks about wages. When it comes to, or while the code on wages will apply across sectors and job categories, it excludes gig work from an employment relationship for wage purposes. It doesn't include gig workers. That is a problem. From an employment relationship for wage purposes. Instead, it is being treated, because they exclude, how do they treat that? Instead, it is being treated as a distinct, some unique. Here, distinct means what? Unique or different. And the platform is only obligated to make a gross contribution to a social security fund. Social security fund. Here, obligated. You have to become alert. Obligation means what? Responsibility, duty. In English, we have two helping verbs to express an obligation. One is must. What is the other one? Have to. Third person singular, has to. What is a function of must? Used to express an obligation imposed by the writer or speaker. And what is a function of have to or has to? Used to express an obligation imposed by an external authority or a situation. You should always have these two at your fingertips, the functions. The workers' demands, again plural noun ending in the letter S, apostrophe after that. The workers' demands including over algorithmic rate cuts and opaque incentive structures. Opaque means not transparent. Thus remain unaddressed. Certain areas haven't been touched by these rules. What are those areas not touched by the new rules? One is algorithmic rate cuts, the other one opaque incentive structures. Similarly, the OSH and WC central rules are built around employer compliance via the Shram Suvidha portal. There are certain rules and regulations to be followed by the employers, those who provide the employment. Compliance, we have got so many times. Comply means what? To follow, adhere to, stick to, follow, and abide by. All these you have to recollect. A particular portal, but this is a conventional model. Conventional means traditional model that does not address concerns of app-mediated work. It goes with the traditional employment structures or platforms or systems. It doesn't deal with app-based work. That is a problem. Only the social security changes are concrete. Only one dimension has been touched. When you see the word concrete, you should become alert. Think of concrete means what? To be able to see or touch something. It also means tangible. What is opposite? Abstract. Abstract means something you cannot see or touch. What is the word you have to think of? Intangible. The draft rules here require gig workers to register. What are the rules? First about company point of view, now workers' point of view. What do they demand? The draft rules here require gig workers to register on a portal and every aggregator, means every platform, to upload details of engaged workers, means those who work for them, and update them every quarter. It talks about registration by the employees and also an obligation on the platforms or aggregators. They have to update the worker details every quarter. The center may also notify additional eligibility conditions, may function two functions. One, possibility, chances are more. The other one, permission, formal and very polite, like may I come in, sir. May also notify additional eligibility conditions. In any case, a worker must have engaged for at least 90 days with an aggregator or 120 cumulative days across aggregators in the financial year. There are two things here, 90 days for one aggregator, many aggregators cumulative, total 120 days. However, contrasting information, one calendar day can count as multiple days if a worker earns via multiple aggregators that day. If this helps workers qualify faster, it does not constrain platforms on how they organize work. It seems if a particular gig worker same day works for different aggregators, they are considered different days. If a worker earns via multiple aggregators that day, if this helps workers qualify faster, it does not constrain, it does not restrict platforms on how they organize work. The windows could also penalize workers for caregiving work or those responding to a demand slump beyond their control. All these are restrictions on the workers. It's in penalize means what? Punish. Yes, you should recollect. Who is this? Sangeeta. Very good. Calendar, calendar. DAR, our regular calendar. DER. It goes with pressing paper or cloth, not the regular pressing, industrial scale. And we also use the word rolling machines. It can be a verb, it can be a noun. That's very good. Could also penalize workers for caregiving work or those responding to a demand slump beyond their control. To these ends, the draft rules need to be redesigned so that the social security they promise is accessible and secure in practice. All these things have to be addressed, and main idea is being reiterated with the same words. Their promise, their promise is, or whatever their promise is, accessible and secure in practice. For instance, the 90 and 120-day thresholds, the minimum point which may trigger something may happen after that particular point, threshold, must include explicit protections for illness. These people don't have that protection. Regular employee has all these protections. Based on that, must include obligation imposed by the writer or the editorial. Explicit protections for illness, maternity, and demand collapses and should not lapse because a worker had a bad quarter. They should consider all these. They should not, the benefit should not lapse because of a bad quarter. The rules should also specify, should, use to advise or suggest. The rules should also specify what benefits exist, how disputes will be resolved, future tense passive voice, the minimum benefits the Social Security Fund will support, and a time-bound claims and appeals process not dependent on platforms' goodwill. All these, the moment you see should, you should think of the writer's suggestions or the solutions. These are all suggestions made by the writer or the editorial. One is how will they resolve the disputes? What benefits exist? They should be specific. Minimum benefits the Social Security Fund will support. They have to know the minimum thing. And a time-bound claims and appeals process not dependent on platforms' goodwill. Everything should be specific. Finally, aggregators should give every worker a periodic statement of jobs, hours logged, earnings, and deductions, and workers must be able to contest irregular data. Here, contest means they can question, they can argue, they can demand. Some consistency is not there, inconsistency, they can question. Without these changes, these are the changes the writer wants, and he says if these changes are not going to happen, without these changes, the new regime, what is the meaning of regime here? System. The new regime will leave the insecurity that produced the strikes structurally intact. If they don't make the changes, that insecurity will be intact. And that is the reason why they had to go on strike. It ends on that note, I suppose. Yes. Let us go to questions based on reading comprehension skill. What is the first one? The author mentions the CEO's praise for police intervention mainly to highlight one particular CEO praised police intervention. The writer mentions that. What is the idea behind mentioning that particular thing? The efficiency of law enforcement, the urgency of regulating platform companies, the power imbalance between gig workers and platforms. The CEO praised the police intervention. That means they supported the aggregators, they supported the platforms, not the gig workers. There is a power imbalance. The power imbalance between gig workers and platforms or aggregators. According to the passage, gig workers are excluded from the code on wages because they do not focus on wages, they do not focus on workplace conditions. They focused on social security. So this question deals with wages. What is the reason? Why didn't they include? Gig work is seasonal and irregular. Platforms deny any employer-employee relationship. Gig work is treated as distinct from employment. This has been mentioned clearly in the editorial. So what is the answer? They differentiate. It is not the regular employment, so they cannot apply the rules. It is looked at as distinct, different from employment. No, no, C is the answer, clearly mentioned in the editorial, not B. Which of the following best captures the author's criticism of the draft Social Security rules? The writer has criticized the draft security rules. Which one captures that criticism? They are legally ambiguous. They promise protection but fail to ensure practical access. This is the main idea. They promise protection but fail to ensure practical access. That's why the main idea says ensure practical access and secure. They should be accessible and secure in practice. The author's concern regarding the 90-day and 120-day eligibility thresholds is that they discourage worker mobility, are too lenient to ensure meaningful social security, ignore structural vulnerabilities of gig workers, unfairly benefit workers engaged with multiple aggregators. I think too lenient to ensure meaningful social security. What is the answer here? No, no, answer should be B. They don't benefit the workers. Why will they benefit the workers? Unfairly benefit the workers? No. Too lenient to ensure meaningful social security. Check once. Question number 4. The tone of the passage can best be described as: throughout the passage, the writer has criticized and suggested so many things. Based on that, not neutral, not cautiously optimistic, critical, criticized, and suggested a lot of stuff, reform oriented, suggested solutions, remedies, based on that reform oriented. Answer is C. Let us go to mini mocks, questions based on error location, first one, questions based on exam topics. Read the first one and try to spot the error. Identify the part that contains an error. If there is no error, choose E. The Supreme Court was reluctant to impose a complete ban on mining, arguing that it will increase instances of illegal mining, given that India's developmental trajectory requires an incessant supply of stone and minerals. Incessant, without stopping, continuous. India needs continuous supply of stone and minerals. This you should read carefully, only then you can. There is an error. No, no. Error is there. Here, the Supreme Court was reluctant, past, to impose a complete ban on mining, arguing that means it must have said something. Here, context goes into past, and it is like reporting. Then you cannot use will. It should be would. We cannot use, because the context goes into past, we cannot use will. What is the right word? Would. These two parts go into past. But this clause is about a fact, so it is in present. Please remember, sometimes students ask, sir, can we use different tenses in a sentence? Why not? Based on the idea, you have to use appropriate tense in a particular sentence. Would is not, will is not correct, it should be would. Sentence number 2, fill in the blank. Rampant mining has contributed to groundwater depletion, the ecological sanctity of the region. This is not easy. Question number 2, you got to be very careful. Ecological sanctity of the region. Or here context is negative. Groundwater depletion, mining. Obviously, mining always makes a negative impact. Augmenting means increasing. It cannot increase ecological sanctity. Conserving positive word, reinstating positive word, rehabilitating positive word. Denuding. Denude here means removing. Mining means removing. And exact, you cannot choose a positive word, it should be a negative word. Denuding the ecological sanctity, removing the ecological sanctity of the region. At the outset, I said it's not an easy one. Only a few can answer. Choose a sentence where conundrum is used most appropriately. First, you should know the meaning of the word conundrum. A difficult problem to solve. That's what it means. And part of speech, noun. The court issued a conundrum to the states that doesn't make any sense. Remember, the word is difficult problem. Mining presents a legal conundrum due to conflicting interest. A legal problem difficult to solve seems okay. The conundrum was implemented. That doesn't make any sense. The committee resolved the conundrum by delaying action. That is also not acceptable. Increased mineral output doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what is the answer? B is the answer. Very good. Replace the highlighted phrase with the most appropriate option. Phrase replacement question. Given that this is the source of state revenue, there is a conflict of interest in banning mining. When you read the newspaper, what is the advantage? You are exposed to the language, standard phrases, idioms, expressions. Nowadays, it has been there for quite some time. Mains English is all about exposure to the language. Do remember. Question number 4, what is the answer? Revenue belongs to states, a particular source. And if they go for that, environmental damage, that is conflict of interest. Answer is, there is a standard expression. There is a conflict of interest in banning mining. There exists a clash of ideologies. It is not about ideologies, not about overlap, not about divergence of opinion, not about vested interest. Vested means selfish. Ulterior motive. Answer is, has anyone selected? No replacement is required. What is the answer? No replacement is required. Clash of interest, a standard conflict of interest, a standard expression. Phrase replacement, one more. Select the best replacement for the underlined part or words in bold. What is unacknowledged in this is that reforestation cannot, in a predictable way, compensate for deforestation. Cannot. Here there are two terms. One is reforestation or afforestation. Obviously, all editorials cannot be easy. Some are easy, some are moderate, some are difficult. Today's editorial, an important one, gig economy. Any editorial that deals with economy, important. Cannot adequately neutralize deforestation, does not compensate, fails to compensate, cannot offset deforestation in a predictable manner. Answer is D is the answer. Will never compensate. Imagine you go for deforestation and then you go for reforestation. That cannot generate a new forest. That is not possible because a forest takes hundreds of years to come into existence. Error location, one more question. The government might cry itself hoarse. An important idiom. Not when you are not happy, you may use this one. That this definition is specific only to mining leases and not for tree cutting or residential purposes. To mining leases. There the clue is. Based on that, here you cannot use per. Per is not correct. Two, tree cutting. Two mining leases, two tree cutting or residential purposes. Parallel expression. So what is the answer? Sixth one, D is the answer. The preposition should be the same. Two mining, two cutting down the trees. The five idioms, try to get all the five correct. Important idioms I've given so many times. At arm's length means at a safe distance. At one's beck and call means at one's service all the time. Bad blood, ill will, or angry feeling. A lot of bad blood. D. Black leg, one who continues to work when others are on strike. Black sheep, a bad person in a group. So, what is the correct order? B A D E C. B A D. And the last two, what? E C. Very good. I appreciate. Vishnu, B A D E C. And Manisha also, she has got. Then I see Sukesh. Wonderful. That's all for today. I hope you